This is Andy Orm at the Open Source Convention, and I'm here with Shelly Nezri. We're going to talk a bit about Israel, about the use of open source there, particularly in the defense area, and diversity there. So welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. So you work with open source a lot as a developer, yes?
Yeah.
And what have you seen in the relationship with the military, with the defense establishment in open source?
So it's a bit tricky, but there is an initiative of several defense corporates in Israel regarding usage of open source and increasing and introducing open source into our systems. Not the core IP parts, but like infrastructures and stuff that we can all share even if we're in competition.
So things that help the businesses to run and get their work done can be shared, yes.
Yeah.
And is it through, there was something that the United States Defense Department sent up, which had companies working together, but it was not open source. They simply shared the platform. Is there something like that? I suppose you might call it inner source.
No, we don't have something like that. It's really hard even to share infrastructures between companies, but we share ideas and processes. But no more than that.
So do companies, many companies in the United States hire people and say, you can spend your company time working on an open source project. Does that happen?
Not as far as I know.
Oh, okay.
We do it like under the table.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes.
I see.
You're allowed to, but you're not encouraged to.
Yes.
So that's...
Yeah. So what are some of the interesting projects that have come out of this open source work?
Wow. As I said, mostly processes. So like CI, CD, continuous integration and continuous deployment makes us cooperate between ourselves. Most defense companies we work, we're not directly connected to the internet. So we face this challenge. We have this challenge in common. So this kind of cooperation, overcoming these challenges.
So how would you exchange material? Do you attach to the internet just to do a quick download?
Yeah, you can't directly. You use a Citrix server. We also have, Elbit Systems have an Artifactory solution. So you can download stuff, but not directly. It goes like, you have to go through several servers, but you get it at the end.
I suppose that you worked only with the source code. You do not accept binaries from another location.
Yeah, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah.
So open source is very important for that reason, I suppose.
Yeah, you have when you want to incorporate open source in your product, besides the licensing issue and all that, you have to be able to prove that it's not malware, that it's in standard.
So are there bodies that evaluate the software?
There is a very, very long bureaucratic procedure you have to go through, and we have, in my company, for each business unit, there is one expert to open source, and you have to consult that person. Because, every open source package or component you use is a little bit different. So there is no one solution.
Do you think that companies are expanding their use of open source?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, I think more and more of the code is ready in advance, and what we do mostly is integration and customization, because there's no point in investing in writing another message queue or stuff like that. Infrastructures should not be developed.
And do you think there's a lot of cross-pollination with other countries? That is, are people using European-developed code along with Israeli-developed code and stuff like that?
I've never thought of that.
Oh, okay.
That's interesting, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know, we don't pay attention to where the code is coming from when using open source. Maybe we should.
Well, apparently you're not using the same platforms like GitHub and GitLab and so forth. You have different platforms to host the code.
No, we have on-premise GitLab, for example.
Oh, okay.
We have the same platforms, but we have to install it and handle it a bit differently because it's not online.
Yes.
Yeah.
I also wanted to ask you about diversity efforts.
Yeah.
and particularly with women. So talk about that.
So when I went to college, I was in the electrical engineering. Well, that's my major. So we were like 250 students, only 11 women. But today it's very different. If you go to universities for technical professions, you see almost 50% girls. And in high tech in general, there are a lot of girls, but in defense, the percentage is a little bit different. But still, it's shifting in the right direction. So you see more and more women as time progresses, and more women managers, which is
interesting.
Yeah.
And is this in the IDF itself, or in the companies that surround it?
In the companies that surround it. The IDF is. It's still, you have women warriors today. It didn't used to be like that. But it will take time until, if we ever get to equality. It's going to take some time, but it's in the right direction.
Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about with the high-tech industry in your area?
Yeah. One thing I wanted to say is everybody calls us Startup Nation and wondering how come all these ideas come from Israel. So I think it's because we have, and you'll know what I'm talking about, a little bit of chutzpah.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes us think differently and challenge the order of things on a regular basis. So.
And I suppose women as well as men can speak up.
Of course,
okay.
Of course, yeah.
Yes.
We are encouraged to step up and do the same thing, if not even more. Yeah, to prove ourselves.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.